our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, had a awfully busy weekend. And Jeff, I'm just going to start there with you, my man, because so much happened, like everything happened this weekend. As you emerge on Monday morning, what are you thinking about? Where's your headspace at, sir?
It's Monday morning. Is it? You can confirm that for me?
I can. Yes, Monday morning.
I don't play the games, but 7 games in 11 nights and 10 games in 17 to start the season. It's been something. And so they have earned a day off here on this Monday, and then they turn around and they go right back at it again. And, all things considered, guys, when you think of not just 10 games in 17 nights, but they have touched every time zone that the National Hockey League has to offer. They've been as far south as Dallas, as far east as Washington. Only 4 of the games on home ice, without their number 2 center, without their captain. Like, it's wild in some ways that they are 5-5, and I think they have to be saluted for that. 5-5 is not going to get them where they want to go over the course of a lengthy schedule, but they could have, with everything that was stacked against them, they could easily have played themselves way behind the chase pack here, and to get a good victory in Dallas and a good win over Washington, and to find a way on back-to-back nights to outscore the Edmonton Oilers. I think you do have to applaud this group for this 10-game stretch. Again, 500, that's not the goal. It can't ever be the goal, but they have remained in touch with the playoff bar, and if the bottom had fallen out early, I think he could have probably understood that. So I have to give them credit. And when you think of some of the individual performances, obviously, can those guys stay at that level and keep it up over the course of a long haul? That's to be determined. But my goodness, storylines for days out of this first 10-game stretch of the schedule.
It is tempting to be a little bit greedy and just think, yeah, they are 5-5. They fought back. They had all this good news in a condensed schedule despite all the injuries. And yet they easily could have won on Saturday. They easily could have won in Nashville. Like there is a parallel universe where they're 7-3 right now, Jeff.
Yeah, the Nashville one's going to knot me, I think, for a while again, just because the Preds were not very good that night either, and it was there for the taking. Montreal's a fun team. They're going to beat a lot of teams over the course of the season. And yet, at 5-on-5, the Canucks were the better team on the ice, but penalty kill has kind of quietly become an issue for the hockey club, giving up 10 power play goals in its first 10 games. And that, again, can be explained to some degree. No Teddy Bluger, no Derek Forbort for lots of that. Kevin Lankinen hasn't been nearly good enough and hasn't held up his end of the bargain in his 4 starts, but something to monitor here moving forward. Because we've come through too many seasons here of late where the penalty kill has just sunk the Canucks. They made such great progress and strides last year, and you wanted to think that they would be able to pick up where they left off. Again, there's some reasons behind that. But, basically giving up a power play goal per game, that's not the answer. So we'll see if they can tighten that up with the guys that they've got. But you're right, Blake. There were other games that were there for the taking, and unfortunately weren't able to get those. But I think this group, and they can't ever be content, but I think if you sat them down and said 5-5 through 10, I think most of these guys would say, yeah, you know what, that's an all right record.
Let's ask you the Redwoods golf course poll question then, Jeff. Biggest Canucks story this weekend, the Quinn Hughes injury, Elias Paterson, he's back, or Kiefer Sherwood and his heroics? Feel free to go off the board, or where are you casting your ballot?
Yeah, and they're all worthy of discussion. Not knowing the Quinn situation, that's concerning, because we've just seen way too many day-to-day injuries with this hockey club turn into something more than that. And is this a result of a guy that plays 30 minutes on some nights, just being asked to do too much, and did the schedule ultimately catch up to him? And I still am unclear whether there was an acute moment in the Montreal game, because he finished the game and they pulled the goaltender. He was out there right down to the final buzzer. Or was this something that happened earlier on the road trip that he was just continuing to try to grind through, and ultimately with back-to-back games couldn't play on Sunday night? So they need him. Obviously, they want him in the lineup. I will say that without him, it was interesting to me that because of his stature with this group, too often the Canucks defer to Quinn Hughes, quite frankly. And I thought against Edmonton, without that option, a lot of guys played more straight-ahead hockey and did good things with the puck. So again, they don't want a prolonged absence from the captain, but for a night at the very least, I thought it brought out the best in some of the other guys. And Paterson obviously picking up some of the slack to score on back-to-back nights. The one-timer, was great to see. And obviously the people at the rink were buying into what he was selling. It was kind of funny that moments after the first one-timer on which he scored, it came right back to him in his wheelhouse, and he completely whiffed on it. So he's not all the way back just yet, but certainly some signs. And doing it in a shutdown role, head-to-head against Suzuki, head-to-head against Connor McDavid. I know the coach raved about that post-game as well. So where he continues to deliver on the defensive side of the puck, now he is adding some of that offense that's been missing for far too long. So that's a great development, and they're just going to continue to need more of it from him. And what can you say about Kiefer Sherwood? It's unbelievable. And you just wonder, the meter is clearly running in a contract season, and what a start for him. Already two goal games. The speed was evident, the hustle, the determination that's almost always there, but sneaky finish. And we saw it last year with 19 goals, and now he's up to 6 already. He put the puck on his stick in a shooting position, and there's a little more heat on that shot than I think I certainly gave him credit for before he joined this hockey club. So I'm going to vote the Quinn Hughes story just because we don't fully know, and it could turn into a massive story for the Vancouver Canucks. But because the other guys rose to the challenge in the absence of their captain, I sort of bundle that all together. To me, that probably the biggest story of the weekend.
He's been a top 9 player in most people's minds for his entire career in Kiefer Sherwood, if not a fourth liner, for heaven's sakes. Connor Garland at times has been a third-line player for the Vancouver Canucks. I think those days are now safely behind us. My honorable mention for the poll question was the better than a point per game Connor Garland. I don't know that we had this on the bingo card to start the season, much like the Sherwood story.
No, well, we had the two Connors that got into it last year. The last time the Oilers were here in the regular season, and of course resulted in suspensions and all kinds of stuff. Now, when the two Connors shared the ice last night and they're separated by a single point at the 10-game mark, come on. That third period shift where he spent basically a minute behind the net, spinning around and stealing the lunch money from a bunch of Oilers, incredible stuff. Had they been able to convert on that shift, it would have been absolutely wild bedlam in the building. So yeah, Connor Garland's been going since day one, and really since he hit the ground in Vancouver, he has been a guy that's obviously played with that energy, but there is now a tangible takeaway in the point column. Is he going to be a point-a-game guy over the course of the season? Probably not. He'll find his level, but man, his level in the first 10 has been amazing and so fun to watch, and nice to see him picking up the points. And so, yeah, kind of a quiet 2-point night because there were so many other storylines, but he was going about his business, contributing and picking up more points there. So, yeah, great start to the season. Nice 10-game sequence and segment for Connor Garland. And again, we'll just see where it goes from here. But, I mean, one of the reasons that the Canucks have been able to kind of keep their head above water is because of the play of guys like Garland, and so they need him. I mean, given the way this lineup is constituted, even when they had some of the injured guys in there, he's a pretty valuable piece for the Vancouver Canucks, and I think has shown that through 10 games so far.
And he was part of that forward troika in overtime. What did you think of that?
Yeah. I liked it, and I liked Adam Foote's explanation that they had leaned so heavily on Philip Hronek and Marcus Paterson and even Petey. Again, back-to-back for those guys. Mancini leaves the game late in the second period, so they're essentially down to 5 defensemen. Olivier Joseph still sort of trying to find his game, and he's not being used much, so they leaned a lot on 4 defensemen, and Petey was one of them. Not that Petey would have seen ice time in overtime, but why not? Hronek had the first shift, and I know Sherwood joked after the game that when the coaches said, "You're replacing Hronek," like he was a little confused by that, but we've seen other teams do it. Again, I think we're all trying to figure out Adam Foote and his new coaching staff, and they're going to be learning more. I thought it was a pretty progressive move on the part of the coaches there to throw some of it necessity, but also I think they saw an opportunity, and as it turned out, worked out beautifully for them. So I'm all for it, and through all of it, I don't care if it's 3 defensemen, 3 forwards, whatever. The Canucks found a way 2-0 in games decided beyond regulation time, which is absolutely a massive step forward given how many points they left on the table in those situations last year.
Sorry to bring it up, but we do have to talk about Lankinen here a little bit. And it's not that he's been horrendous, but he hasn't been good. And, of course, that begins to creep the question of Demko starts. Jeff, where are you at on Lankinen? Where do you think they're at on Lankinen? And might we see a scenario where because he's playing so darn well and his backup isn't, that we're going to start to see a little bit more of Thatcher Demko?
Well, there certainly are some red flags on Lankinen's performance. Just the one win in his 4 starts, and he's been lit up. And gave up 5 in Pittsburgh. And for him, his bounce back game was against a high-flying Habs team that was the highest-scoring team in the National Hockey League when it hit the ice on Saturday afternoon. But he gives up 4 there. And the goals themselves, if I go back to the Pittsburgh game, even the Montreal game, there's not one that I look at and think, oh, just dreadful. But this is the National Hockey League, and no goaltender could look himself in the mirror and say 5 and 4 is getting it done. And St. Louis torched him for a bunch in his first start of the season as well. So he's given up 15 goals in 4 starts, and those are crooked numbers that, again, when I think back to the way that he launched as a Canuck a year ago and won his first 10 road games, and I mean, it was just nothing but sunshine around this guy. There are some, I would say, some red flags there. And because of the point that you make, Matt, that how could they not look at this and think, well, if one guy is giving us this level of goaltending on a nightly basis that keeps us in games and allows us to win games, and the other guy is fighting it right now, well, we got to look at our number one. But that's when they start to invite trouble. And the fact that Adam Foote has been here through Thatcher Demko's injury issues, hopefully that weighs on the coaches' decisions as they move forward here, but they don't have back-to-backs now for a couple of weeks, and so games are spaced out here, and I do start to wonder if that's going to add to Thatcher Demko's workload. And Demko has been so good in the early going this season, and so I would understand it if I'm in Adam Foote's shoes. I got to believe that it's Demko on Tuesday against the Rangers. Canucks want to win that one for a lot of reasons. And then you're back out on the road, but there's no back-to-backs on the road trip. So absolutely going to be worth monitoring here. And with so little practice time, that's the other part here. For a guy like Kevin Lankinen, can he find ice to work with Marco Terenius, the goaltending coach, to try to, just get his game back so that he becomes a trusted option? But the more he struggles, it's sort of this vicious circle. The more Lankinen struggles, the better Demko plays, the more you think they might lean to Demko, and yet that is not a formula for long-term success for both Demko and the hockey club, because we know what happens when they overuse him. So, 10 games into the season, I was hoping that this wouldn't be a storyline, but you can't deny it. The 2 goaltenders right now have authored considerably different stories, and so we'll see where it goes from here.
What do you suspect is going to be the defense tomorrow for the Vancouver Canucks?
Yeah, management probably out at Value Village shopping for some discounts.
I mean, Derek Forbort's not injured. He's just on a maintenance day, so he could be available, right?
The 2-week plus maintenance day now.
Yeah.
I mean, Kudratsev's up. And again, Mancini, Foote just said day-to-day after the game, but take that for what it's worth. And this is another thing, too, guys. Just when I think of, we talked about Kevin Lankinen not having practice time, anybody that's coming back from injury, generally guys in the National Hockey League want to get a couple of good skates in with their teammates before they jump back into game action, but that's just not going to be an option for a lot of players this year. So it's just a wrinkle to this condensed schedule. But next man up, Kudratsev, I think, makes it 11 defensemen already on the roster here through 10 games for the Vancouver Canucks. This team's been down this road before a lot of times over the years, but even at that, that's a lot of bodies on the roster. They haven't all played. Kudratsev hasn't got in. Willander didn't get a chance. Jimmy Schultz was only up for cap reasons, but it does amount to 11 different defenders that have been on the roster. So let's see what the morning skate brings as far as Mancini and as far as Quinn Hughes. But if Mancini's the latest that can't go, then they are probably looking at Kirill Kudratsev drawing in and making his first appearance of this season. And he's been a great news story for the organization, obviously, in the way that he has developed down in Abbotsford. But boy, they are getting deep already on the defense core early in this season.
I'm not sure we've ever done a hit, Jeff, where we've gone 15 minutes before we've discussed the trade the Vancouver Canucks made. But they did make a trade on Friday, and after we had spoken to you, so we weren't able to get your 2 cents. What did you make of the deal and the early returns from Lucas Reichel in his first weekend as a Canuck?
Yeah, I like the try. For a fourth-round draft pick, why not? A team in need of warm bodies that can play, and this is a guy they've been linked to for a while. Everybody always talk, you hope that there's upside. Obviously, he hasn't come anywhere close to realizing the potential that had him a first-round draft choice. And, you think, okay, where the Blackhawks are, a first-round pick couldn't crack that lineup. And so I think a lot of people sort of scratch their head about where it's gone wrong for Lukas Reichel. Through it all, the speed is undeniable. And even on, in his debut, he's clocked the fastest speed burst of any Vancouver Canuck this season. So on that front, came as advertised. I think I give him a pass on Saturday. This guy learns of his trade on Friday afternoon. Travel trouble, a 4 o'clock start against a really good Montreal team. Good on him you could have understood if I just don't have it on Saturday, but these guys are hockey players. He wanted to change the scenery. He got it. So I'm not going to judge him too much on Saturday. It was a struggle in the faceoff circle for him, but remarkable what a good night's sleep can do, because I thought he was really good against Edmonton in that second line role with Boeser and Kane. Speed was on display there. I wasn't at the game on Saturday, so I watched on TV like a lot of people, but I was in the building, get my own eyes on him on Sunday. And in open ice, the guy can move without a doubt, and this team can use all the added speed that it can acquire right now. He was much better in the faceoff circle, and he drew the Draisaitl matchup for most of the night when McDavid and Draisaitl weren't paired together, and that's not easy. And so I know Draisaitl scored a couple of goals, but I thought there were moments. Reichel had a couple of scoring chances himself, set up Tyler Myers for what looked like a tap-in in the blue paint that didn't quite connect. But all things considered, that this guy was in and part of the Chicago Blackhawks on Friday afternoon, and now has played 2 games already for the Vancouver Canucks. If anybody could use a day off, it's probably Lukas Reichel. Another guy that's not going to get much practice time, though. It's going to be learning on the fly and sort of getting the new systems down and figuring out what the coaches want from him. But I might give him certainly a passing grade in his first 2 games. And I thought, like most of the guys, it was hard to find anybody that really didn't contribute in their own way to the win over the Oilers. So for a 4th-round pick, why not? I think it was the kind of trade that the Canucks have to roll the dice on.
We know Brock is a feeler. We know he's an animal lover. I can hear the old hockey men howling about you gave him leave for the team for the death of a pet, but he paid that back off last night in spades, Jeff, with his performance. What did you make of them giving him leave to go home and deal with the death of his dog?
Yeah, I guess when I found out that it was a dog, a little bit surprised, but in saying that, I know that I know what those dogs, and he's got 2 of them, and I know what they mean to Brock Boeser, and doesn't have children of his own right now, so this is part of his family. And guy's been through a lot in his time, the decade that he's been in the Vancouver Canuck organization. So when I understood that the dog was in his last days, there's a part of me, I'm not a dog owner, but I am a pet owner, and I can understand it. Early in the season, the fact that the Canucks had a few wins under their belt already, I don't know if that, had they gone out on the road and lost the first couple and the heat was continuing to be turned up, does that change the equation in any way? We'll never know. But he hustled back to Nashville and got back in the lineup, so it turned out to be a 2-game absence for him. And that first goal, I just liked a lot about that first goal last night. Evander Kane has been under the gun a little bit, and to see him get on his scooter there and win a foot race, and then the pass to Boeser. And, we're so used to Brock pulling the trigger with the big snapshot, to see him go to the backhand, little off-speed pitch. The Canadian fools, Calvin Pickard, whatever the case, through all of this, and, not just the 2-game absence, I have to imagine that Brock had known that the dog was in failing health, and that's probably been on his mind for a while. So for him to have 4 goals through the 8 games that he's played, plus he had the shootout winner in Chicago, add it all up, and that's a really nice start to Brock Boeser, who's looking to have the bounce-back season after scoring just 25 times last year.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought I was a little surprised, but then it instantly made sense to me, given the person here in Boeser. All right, JT in the house tomorrow. And by the way, how do you think JT would react to it? You're taking leave for a dead dog? JT in the house tomorrow, what are you anticipating? Cheers, jeers, combination of both? Do you think this could be as emotional and spicy a game as we have seen in the regular season from the Canucks?
Yeah, I'm not expecting Armageddon on ice, but I think that the Rangers got their lunch fed to them by the Calgary Flames. Did I just say that sentence? I think I did.
Yes, you did.
So it becomes an instant bounce back game and some sort of response for the Rangers starting their road trip with a dud. They've been better on the road than they have been at home, but that was their first outright loss away from MSG. So, it's on JT's watch. He's the captain. He has to sort of take some ownership for every performance like that. So I would think that he'd want to atone for his play and his team's play. The fact that Elias Paterson is the Canucks matchup center, like you can't draw and, write this kind of script. They're going to go head to head. I just don't see any other way that that won't be the matchup. So, right from the drop of the opening puck, if that's the way that Mike Sullivan wants to line things up and get JT out there for the opening faceoff, it could be game on, battle on between those two guys head to head. So certainly the game within the game, they're going to get a lot of attention. And I have to think that there will be some fans that try to get the JT Miller chance going, that even though it's a home game for the Canucks, there are people out there that think the Canucks traded the wrong guy. JT's got his crew here. I think there will be some people that try to get some JT Miller chance going. The great test, and he is a pro through and through, but if JT Miller were to score a goal, will Al Murdoch have to fight the urge?
Oh, yes.
I think he'll play it cool, and he knows where the bread is buttered, but that's a bridge that'll be crossed in time, I suppose, if JT puts the puck in the net. How does it go? What kind of reaction there? So, yeah, I love storylines, and there are plenty of them heading into this one. And for the Vancouver Canucks, trying to follow up a good win over the Edmonton Oilers, for the Rangers trying to bounce back, and for JT, a guy that likes to sort of play it pretty cool, I do wonder if there will be some emotions, because he's going to get the scoreboard video tribute, as he should, for his incredible years of service here as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. So, it's going to be an interesting night all around.
Yeah, you wonder if the Let's Go Petey chant will pop up in response to any JT Miller chants.
If there's a JT Miller chant, somebody there'll be an equal group that yells "sucks" after the JT Miller part. I bet.
Yeah. Well, here's what I do know: the building should have a majority Canuck fan in it tomorrow night. Holy cow, Jeff, we're turning into Lumen Field here. I realize it was two Canadian teams, but my goodness, were there a lot of Habs and Oilers fans in the building this weekend.
Yeah, and not a surprise with Montreal. We know that over the years that Hab fans come out in force. This has been a development, though, I would say, in the last decade, and maybe it's the McDavid factor. It's as simple as that. Oiler fans found their way into Rogers Arena in huge numbers, and I know that our colleagues from Edmonton were part of that last night with the Nation Network and the 60-so fans that they had. So sorry to them that they didn't get to celebrate a victory. However, look, tickets are available on the secondary market. And
Not even on the primary market, too.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So there is an ease of access if people have the money and are willing to spend it, where when those tickets were all spoken for, it was hard for visiting teams or fans of visiting teams to get their hands on them, to even get access to the building. So, it's a multi-layered sort of story there. But yes, through it all, and the Habs fans didn't have a whole lot to cheer about until the third period, and then they came alive when the Oilers showed some signs of life in the third period, started to get a little rowdy in there as well. So, another Original Six team coming in. The Rangers will have their fans, not to the same degree that Montreal or Edmonton, but you'll see some blue shirts in the building as well. And again, that'll just add to what should be a fun night of hockey.
Indeed so. Great stuff, Jeff. Thank you for this. We'll be watching, listening RinkWide Vancouver after the game against the Rangers on Tuesday, and we got another early start Thursday in St. Louis. We'll catch up on Friday after that one.
Sounds good. Anything you want me to pass along to JT when I run into him tomorrow?
Oh, just how much we miss him.
Yeah, we miss him so much.
Miss him so much. Mm-hmm. And, right. We're not going to make a big deal of their lack of goals at home. It's a unique situation. We
Let's not blow it out of proportion.
He's got this. Yeah. We get it.